Right, so Manchester United, we're going to talk about them in this video today. Um, where do you start? Where do you start with Man United? So many problems, and to get through the whole of Man United's problems, it will take about 3 hours. Honestly, where do you start? Now, first of all, they drew yesterday, didn't they? They drew to Aston Villa away. Um, on paper, you have to say drawing away at Aston Villa isn't actually a bad result. I think to keep a clean sheet as well, on paper, over a 38 game season, it's not a bad result. And a 0-0 is a reflection mainly of their defence. You know, I thought Man United defensively done really well against Aston Villa. They nullified them well. Maguire done okay, but Johnny Evans was just outstanding, honestly. And even if you look at Fergie's last years at Man United, I always felt Johnny Evans was a very underappreciated defender. He has always been solid. He has a couple of howlers here and there, but I mean, overall, we're talking about a very dependable centre back. And even now, he shouldn't be anywhere near Man United's team because he's coming to the end of his career. But yet you can't help but play him because he's consistent on way too many occasions compared to Man United's current defenders. You know, you just can't drop him because you're going to get a good performance from Johnny Evans. You know, even if he is done at the top level, he's better than what Man United have got. You know, and they've spent millions. I thought Mazraoui was really good as well. I have to say he done well. Dalot is a fantastic player. Let's be honest. Dalot is just, you know, in a very poor period in Man United's history. I think Dallow's done very well the last couple of years. And and Onana, you know, I don't think he's getting enough credit. He's had a couple of howlers since joining from Ajax, or is it Inter Milan? Inter Milan. But overall, with the amount of shots that Man United face as well, you got to take that into account. He's done better than people have given him credit for. So fair play to him. United's defence done well, but the main issue for United is that midfield, and the common denominator for that is Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes should be nowhere near a midfield three if you want to win the biggest trophies. He is a major issue for Manchester United, and I don't even think Bruno Fernandes was that bad yesterday. But if you look at the 7 games as a whole this season, you look at Man United last season, Bruno Fernandes is the problem. He just is, because he is playing in the number 10. You'd have to say his best position is number 10. People would say that, wouldn't they? But he is unable to control a game of football. He can't. Even when he receives the ball, you can tell he just can't wait to get rid of it. Like he doesn't demand the ball in enough risky positions for my liking. And United have scored 5 goals this season. I know Bruno Fernandes isn't the only problem. He's not the only reason for that, but he's a big reason, because your number 10 is the most important player on the pitch in terms of creating chances. And you look at the best ones like Ødegaard and Kevin De Bruyne, they receive the ball when it's uncomfortable, you know. And even if you don't, those are obviously the world class examples. But take Bernardo Silva, for example. You know, Bernardo Silva can't do what Bruno Fernandes can do in terms of scoring 30-yard worldies, you know, and having those glory moments. But I tell you what, if you said to me, who would I rather have in my team, Bernardo Silva or Bruno Fernandes? Bernardo Silva any day of the week, because he has just got this ability to control games of football in tight spaces, and he's so dependable, you know, in terms of creating chances and allowing a team to tick. He is just unbelievable. Bruno Fernandes has not got what someone like Bernardo Silva's got. He can't do it. And I think it's about time United, if they want to be successful, they've got to stop playing Bruno Fernandes in the 10. They have to. If you're going to play Bruno Fernandes, well, first of all, you've got 2 options. You either sell him and you cut ties with him, because he's 29 now. He's not. United will never win a Premier League title with Bruno Fernandes. You either sell him or you play him up front or on the wing, because defensively he's got no discipline. It's all about the Bruno Fernandes show. It's not about Manchester United. It's about Bruno Fernandes when he plays. He's the most selfish player in the league. And he's not. United will not win anything with him. And any player that refers to himself in the third person You know, they're in it for themselves. They're not in it for the football club. And I think it's about time United either cut ties with him or start playing him as a striker, because if you look at Man United's best performance this season, the best I've seen United was probably one of their best periods was at home against Fulham, first game of the season. I thought first half they done okay, and Bruno Fernandes was playing up front, and it allowed players like Mason Mount and Mainu and Casemiro, players who actually got some defensive discipline to control the midfield, and it meant Bruno Fernandes didn't have as much defensive responsibility. And I think now he's back in that midfield three. He's got Eriksen and Mainu, and it's Kobbie Mainoo's not a number 6. He's just not. He's an 8. You know, why was Agate dropped? That was puzzling for me. There's certain decisions at Manchester United that are just really making me scratch my head. But you know, certain players get dropped. Bruno Fernandes is never one of them. He's always playing, and I think now people are starting to see that he is a major problem for Man United. You know, if you're going to play in the number 10, you've got to create chances better than what he does. You know, he's in it for himself. When the going gets tough, you cannot count on Bruno Fernandes to create chances for you. You know, he might come up with a worldie for himself, but he's not going to help the team. He's not a team player. I've said this about Bruno Fernandes. He's not a team player. He's great to watch. He can come up with a worldie, but it's the Bruno Fernandes show. And that's something United need to address, you know, because if United had even Morgan Gibbs-White is not better than Bruno Fernandes. But if they had Morgan Gibbs-White instead of Fernandes in the 10, they'd be a much better team. You know, there's too many egos in that Man United team. And in the summer, I praised some of their business, you know, but again, I look at it, I should have been stronger. It wasn't what United should have done. I've said this, United should be shopping at clubs like Forest, like Brighton. When you've just finished 8th, you can't go raid the top teams for big players. You have to start a little bit lower, like what Arsenal did. Arsenal came 8th in the league. We shopped at Brighton for Ben White. Ramsdale just got relegated as Sheffield United. You know, it's Liverpool did it. They got Wijnaldum, who'd been relegated from Newcastle. They had Robertson, who'd been relegated by Hull. They got those kind of players, and those players grew with the club. They might not be good enough in the long run, but they're good enough to help the club progress slowly. And instead, they've taken a chance on a guy who Bayern Munich could not wait to get rid of. And that's concerning. You got to ask yourself, if Bayern Munich are happy to sell a defender like De Ligt, that's alarm bells should be ringing. And it's, you know, he's probably going to go on to be a decent defender for United. But I just think in the long run, you're better off going for players like Murillo for Nottingham Forest, who might not be good enough to win a title now, but in the long run, they might help you to get there. You know, and it's because otherwise you get too many egos who are part of big clubs and they're all piled together and it just doesn't work. United have only scored 5 goals this season, and they can't buy a goal. Like they don't even look like scoring at times. I think Rashford has had a slightly better season than people give him credit for, but he doesn't look like he cares. He just doesn't, and he has all the talent, but you never know if he's going to show the talent. You never know if he's going to have a poor day or if he's just going to have a day where it feels like the world is on his shoulders. Højlund looks like a bloody statue at times. Garnacho is just, you don't know what you're going to get with Garnacho. He always looks like he's going to give the ball away. And Xerxes, when he came on, was poor, really poor. Big problems for United. I think maybe they should have invested a bit wiser. I don't know, but I still think the major issue is Bruno Fernandes. I really do. I think Kobbie Mainoo, again, looks... he's a young kid, but he looks out of his depth at times, and he's such a talented boy. Eriksen, why is Eriksen still playing? Seriously, I think United now seem to me like a team who don't know the best 11. They don't know if the manager's going to stay, and the manager probably doesn't. Ten Hag's interviews after games, it's like you'll watch the most shocking game of football, and Ten Hag's done an interview and you think, oh, it wasn't so bad, that. Because he makes it out like it's a better situation than it is. But then you realise what you're watching is just, it is poor overall. Yes, they got a good draw away to a good Villa side, but it's just, I don't think there's a plan at Manchester United. I think they've got people who want to create a plan, but I don't think they actually know what the plan is. Dan Ashworth's come in. Are you telling me Mazarawi and De Ligt and Xerxes was the best that Dan Ashworth could do? You know, where are these gems that Dan Ashworth is supposed to be finding? At Brighton, he found all these gems. But why, when he goes to Man United or Newcastle, he can't... Actually, Newcastle, he found quite a few. But United, he can't... I don't think they bought well enough. I think Man United have got loads of issues. Bruno Fernandes is a major issue. But again, you don't know where the light is at the end of the tunnel for Man United, because it's been 11 years without a title. But I think they need to start easing players like Bruno Fernandes out of the football club and start from scratch. Don't go buying, like, I heard Goretzka was linked with Man United. That's just classic United. Stop going for all these high-profile players. Like Casemiro, for example. Mate, Real Madrid couldn't believe their luck when Casemiro left. They couldn't believe their luck that Man United were willing to pay that kind of money for Casemiro. Casemiro probably couldn't believe his luck. These are players they need to stay away from. Go and target players from lower league clubs where the wages aren't so demanding, and then just try and build slowly. But it just seems until United start doing that, they're going to keep going through this cycle of just going for the trying to go for the best all the time, and as opposed to players who maybe aren't the real deal now or the finished article, but they could be one day. Arsenal did it 3 years ago. Arteta bought players to the football club who no Arsenal fan would have gone for, but he went for them because he saw something. Yeah, major problems. I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, Man United, very underwhelming start to the season. But they defended well, but it's just 5 goals for a club like Man United in 7 matches. It isn't good enough, and you just wonder when it is going to be good enough and when things are going to start to get better, because I certainly don't know.